Fortune favors the brave. Do you hear that?
Can't even shout, can't even cry. The gentlemen are coming by. Looking in windows, knocking on doors. They need to take 7 and they might take yours. Can't call to mom, can't say a word. You're gonna die screaming, but you won't be heard.
In William Shakespeare's King Lear, the titular Lear asks his 3 daughters how much they love him. His first 2 daughters flatter him, but they're dishonest about it. They express their affection for the sake of reward. Lear's 3rd daughter, Cordelia, genuinely loves her father, but when it comes time to express it, she can't find the words.
Speak.
Nothing, my lord.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing will come of nothing. I speak again.
Unhappy that I am, I cannot heave my heart into my mouth. I love your majesty according to my bond, no more nor less.
This critical moment of the play is one of miscommunication. Lear is demanding affection.
And you make jokes during my pain. You don't care about me at all.
I care about you.
How much? What do I mean to you?
Lear's 2 eldest daughters lie to him to get what they want.
So everything you told me was true?
Well, no, I wasn't actually one of the original members of Pink Floyd, but...
Cordelia can't find the words and remains silent.
Well, maybe we could...
Yeah. Tara, guys, quiet. Do you have a suggestion?
This is Hush, Episode 10, Season 4 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Ironically, the season after a character named Cordelia left the show. If you're not familiar with the show, the titular Buffy is a young woman dealing with school, love, and life, while also being the Slayer, a warrior chosen to protect the world, and more specifically the city of Sunnydale, from vampires, demons, and other forces of darkness. She fights alongside her mentor Giles, her best friends Willow and Xander, ex-demon Anya, and during this part of the show, a vampire named Spike, who isn't exactly a good guy, but he needs our hero's help, so he's playing nice for now. Oh, also there's a guy named Riley. There's also like a bajillion other characters, but they're not important for this video. It's a pretty good show, one that's generated a lot of really neat discussion. I especially recommend the reviews of Going Rampant and Passion of the Nerd for some in-depth analysis. Buffy is a show that lends itself to that kind of conversation. It is a well-realized drama with a heaping helping of metaphors brought about by the show's supernatural elements. The cup runneth over with things to talk about, and one of the most talked about episodes is Hush. Critically praised, it was the only episode to be nominated for an Emmy, and it's uncommon to find any top 10 Buffy episode lists and not see this one on there somewhere. And I can see why. There is some major character development, including an ending that continues immediately into the next episode. It's the introduction of Tara, who is hands down my favorite character in the entire show, but even without any of that, it would still work as a standalone Monster of the Week tale with a killer elevator pitch. What if everyone lost their voices? The Monster of the Week, the Gentlemen, steal your voice so that you can't scream when they attack you and surgically remove your heart for their dark rituals. The Gentlemen are striking monsters, brought about by creepy makeup and professional mimes, including Doug Jones, best known for playing Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies and the creature in the upcoming film The Shape of Water. Del Toro just really likes dressing up this guy as a sexy fish monster for whatever reason. I think the Gentlemen are the scariest monsters in the entire show, but also they feed directly into the episode's themes, which are spelled out in the very first shot.
So this is what it is. Talking about communication, talking about language, not the same thing. It's about inspiration, not the idea, but the moment before the idea when it's total, when it blossoms in your mind and connects to everything. It's about the thoughts and experiences that we don't have a word for.
Right away, the episode sets up a conflict between two concepts, communication and language, or perhaps simplified further, meaning and words. or even further, ideas and symbols. The latter is a tool in expressing the former, or less charitably, a substitute for the former, a simulation of ideas, meaning, communication. If you're philosopher Jean Baudrillard, you might argue that we have become so saturated with symbols that they've essentially replaced reality, that we have constructed a simulation of reality for ourselves. It sounds very Matrix, and in fact the Matrix drew a lot of its philosophy from this, but in a world of mass media and mass production, reality is what people believe it is, and they believe what they're told. There's a scene in Hush where a newscaster gives a report about the happenings in Sunnydale that presents objectively false information.
Breaking news item from Sunnydale, California. Apparently the entire town has been quarantined due to an epidemic of, as strange as this may sound, laryngitis. It seems the town has been rendered unable to speak. There's no word yet what might have caused this or what other effects might be seen from this epidemic. Local authorities have issued a written statement, I should say, blaming recent flu vaccinations.
It isn't enough for the media to say, we don't know what's happening. A simulation of reality has to be created. That of an entire town overtaken by laryngitis, presumably followed by a commercial about how you need that downy fabric softener to achieve enlightenment.
Are you ready to discover? Ready to imagine? Ready to experience something totally new? Then get ready for Downy Premium Care. It's a lot more than just a fabric softener. Its clear formula reduces more wrinkles than ordinary softeners.
It is a created truth, one that no one in the narrative attempts to overrule. But then, that's Sunnydale in a nutshell. On the surface, Sunnydale is an idyllic, mid-sized American town, a Grover's Corner of the 90s. Sometimes it looks like the Universal Studios backlot, but this is a fiction, as much a created truth as that news report. Sunnydale is built over a hellmouth and is crawling with monsters. The mortality rate is insane. Sunnydale is a symbol for a certain content way of life, a symbol for an idea that does not exist, a symbol that everyone feels obligated to maintain as a created truth. Even though Buffy knows about the evils of Sunnydale, she still attempts to live a normal life here and keep her connections to Sunnydale's actual, objective, supernatural reality a secret from everyone. She lies to everyone outside of a very small circle of friends and confidants. Could we not then stretch our philosophical buffoonery to Buffy herself? If there is Sunnydale the symbol and Sunnydale the idea, could we not say that there is a symbolic and idyllic Buffy? It's basically a matter of our public and private selves. How we present to other people is oftentimes radically different to how we might present to ourselves or to people we are intimate with. When Buffy is interacting with Riley, a guy she's been slowly forming a strong friendship with, and maybe there's some romantic stuff going on, she's nonetheless lies to him to maintain the symbolic Buffy in this public sphere.
So what have you got going on tonight?
Patrolling.
Patrolling?
Petroleum.
Patrolling.
Uh-huh.
Tonight you have crude oil.
And homework.
The irony here is that Riley is also lying. He's secretly part of an underground paramilitary force called the Initiative, an organization tasked with capturing and studying demons. Riley and Buffy's goals are largely in line with each other, even if their methods differ, but the symbolic Riley also has to be maintained, so Riley lies right back.
What papers?
Papers?
Grading what papers? We only have the final.
Oh, yeah, no, late papers I gotta look at.
In another scene, Willow, who is a practicing amateur witch, attends a college Wicca group in hopes to make some connections, only to discover that it's nothing more than some kids throwing bake sales and talking about crystals. It's an almost Disney-fied symbolic version of the idea of witchcraft, or at least this fiction's idea of witchcraft, where magic is actually real.
Well, there's the wacky notion of spells. You know, conjuring, transmutation.
Oh, yeah. Then we could all get on our broomsticks and fly around on our broomsticks.
You know, certain stereotypes are not very empowering.
It's telling that the group is hostile to the two actual witches present, Willow and Tara, who's also a practicing amateur witch. Idyllic witchcraft threatens the symbolic witchcraft on display. Symbolism is filtered through a public lens, and therefore must be acceptable to the public, and the public doesn't always like to focus on the uncomfortable parts of our reality. You can see that quite visibly at the moment on the issue of Confederate monuments and attempts to revise the history of the Civil War. The symbols of the South, flags and statues and discussion promoting the idea that the Civil War was fought over states' rights, doesn't match the idea of the South, the historical records that show it was fought over slavery. Now, it's a very extreme case of this, but also a very illustrative one. People who have bought into the symbols react with hostility when presented with the idea. It's like telling a kid Santa Claus isn't real. Just because you're showing them something real doesn't mean they'll want to receive it. R.I.P. my comment section, by the way. When the gentleman steals everyone's voices, what they've done is broken our system of language, of words, of symbols. Not completely. The characters still use the written word. They read lips, they use pictures, they use hand gestures, though often to humorous effect. All of this is still language, but speaking is our primary language, our primary symbols. Stripping us of our voices is like stripping off an article of clothing. We are forced to deal with the idea that symbol might have been covering up. In the case of Buffy and Riley, it means them expressing their affection for each other by just kissing already, damn it. But also it means that they can no longer lie to each other about each other's true nature. This is the episode where Buffy and Riley discover each other's secrets. They can't cover it up anymore. Likewise, Tara is able to make a much deeper connection with Willow than she could have at the meeting. Tara struggles with words like Cordelia and King Lear, but they're not needed to reach out to this other witch across the room. There's a lot to Hush. It's funny, it's creepy, it's entertaining in a number of ways, but I think the way it lays out its philosophical theming on its sleeve is its most interesting aspect. Some might argue that it's too simplistic, that the ideas to the story are too direct. After all, the opening line of the episode is a teacher directly spelling it out for the audience. There is a romantic idea that a work's meaning should be puzzled out through extensive analysis, going line by line, frame by frame, until you can prove that The Shining was about the genocide of the Native Americans. And there is certainly value in approaching a work like that. Giving a work a debatable meaning helps keep the work alive in the public discourse. But not everything has to work on the same levels, and I think Hush keeping its theming obvious and to the forefront keeps it from being hypocritical of itself. It's a story about shaking off the obtuse nature of language to communicate truths. It wouldn't be a good look to withhold the truth it's communicating. Of course, we are speaking on matters of philosophy, which is constantly changing and being debated. Models become outdated, and the more we learn about ourselves, the more our perception of a work like Hush might change. But even if that happens tomorrow, it's still good television.